For years, he has sat here, waiting. Through rain, snow, and scorching heat. Who is he waiting for? And why does he refuse to leave? This is the story of Max, the dog who never gave up. The old gas station sat on the edge of town, a relic of another time. The paint on the sign was faded, the glass windows smudged with dust, and the cracked pavement was littered with dry leaves from the last autumn storm. Yet, despite its worn-down appearance, the station was never truly empty. A lone figure sat at the edge of the road, motionless except for the occasional flick of an ear or the slight twitch of his tail. The dog. He was lean, his golden coat dulled by time and exposure, his ribs pressed faintly against his skin. But he was not sick, just weathered. His eyes, deep brown like the color of earth before the rain, stared endlessly down the highway. He did not bark, did not chase passing cars, or beg at the convenience store for scraps. He simply watched. The gas station owner, a grizzled man named Pete, often shook his head at the sight. "Been here for years now," he'd muttered to customers. "Just sit and wait in. For what, I don't know." No one could take him home. Some tried. Kind-hearted strangers, truckers who stopped for fuel, even the local vet who worried about him braving the harsh winters alone. But the dog never stayed. He always found his way back to the roadside, to the exact same spot. Waiting. One of the regulars, an elderly woman named Mrs. Holloway, often left out food for him. "He's got the saddest eyes," she said once. "Like he's seen too much, lost too much." People gave him names. Some called him Buddy, others called him Rusty. But none of them knew that his name was Max, and none of them knew the man he was waiting for. For years earlier, the same gas station, but livelier. The neon lights still glowed bright at night. The scent of gasoline and fried food lingered in the air, and the hum of engines came and went like an unending symphony of life. A rusted white truck pulled into the station, sputtering as if it had just barely made it. The driver's side door creaked open, and a man in his mid-30s stepped out, stretching his tired limbs. Daniel Harper. He was a mechanic, grease stains forever embedded under his fingernails, his once white uniform darkened with years of work. He rubbed the back of his neck, exhaustion evident in the slump of his shoulders. Another long shift at the garage, another night spent barely scraping by. As he reached for the pump, something caught his eye near the side of his truck, as if it was checking him out. A dog. The creature was skinny, too skinny. His fur was matted with dirt, and his ears twitched at every sound, as if he had learned to expect danger. Daniel sighed. Poor guy. He crouched down, clicking his tongue softly. "Hey, buddy, you hungry?" The dog froze, muscles tense. His brown eyes studied Daniel, hesitant, calculating. Daniel rummaged in his truck, pulling out half of a leftover sandwich. "Come on, I won't bite." A moment passed, then another. Slowly, cautiously, the dog stepped forward. He sniffed the sandwich before taking a delicate bite. It was gone in seconds. Daniel smiled, reaching a hand out. The dog hesitated, then took a step closer, sniffing his fingers before licking them once. "That's a good boy," Daniel murmured. As his hand brushed the dog's neck, he felt something cold, metal. A rusted collar, barely readable from years of wear. He squinted. "Max, so you had a home once, huh?" Daniel said softly. The dog looked up at him, and something passed between them, an understanding, a silent question. Daniel exhaled, making a decision he didn't even realize he was about to make. "All right, Max, you want to come home?" The truck door opened, and for a moment Max hesitated. He turned back toward the road, looking as if he were waiting for someone. But then he turned back to Daniel and jumped in. Life changed after that night. Max became Daniel's shadow. At the garage, he curled up in the corner as Daniel worked, his tail thumping softly whenever Daniel looked his way. On long drives, he sat in the passenger seat, head resting on the windowsill, watching the road as if searching for something just beyond the horizon. Nights were quieter, warmer. Daniel, who had spent years eating alone, now had a pair of brown eyes watching him expectantly at dinner. The house, which had always felt a little too empty, now had the sound of paws clicking against the floor, of soft sighs in the dark. "You really saved me, you know that?" Daniel murmured one night, scratching behind Max's ears. The dog blinked up at him, tail wagging. And maybe, just maybe, Daniel saved Max too. But something was always there, lingering in the back of Daniel's mind, a feeling he couldn't shake. Max was happy. He was safe. But sometimes on quiet evenings, he would sit by the door and stare outside, waiting. For what or for who? Daniel didn't know, and he never got the chance to find out. It was a rainy night when the call came. Daniel's younger brother, Liam, had been in an accident. Without thinking, Daniel grabbed his coat, his keys. Max whined, pacing anxiously by the door. "I'll be back soon, buddy," Daniel promised, ruffling his fur. Then he was gone. The rain was relentless. The roads were slick. Daniel gripped the wheel tighter, heart hammering. He never saw the truck skidding toward him until it was too late. Back at home, Max waited, and waited, and waited. Days passed, then weeks, then months. Daniel never came back. People came. Some tried to take Max home. But every time he escaped. Every time he found his way back to the last place he had seen Daniel. The gas station. Through snow, through heat, through endless nights, Max sat by the road, waiting. The town whispered about him. Some fed him, some pitied him, but no one could make him leave, because he knew Daniel had promised, "I'll be back soon, buddy," and Max believed him. 2 years later, a taxi pulled up to the gas station. A man stepped out, leaning on a cane. He was thinner, weaker, scars trailing along his arms. "It's Daniel." His voice trembled. Max, the old dog, lying by the road, stiffly lifted his head. His ears twitched. His eyes, clouded with age, locked onto the man he had waited for. A beat of silence. Then Max moved. Slow at first, legs shaking. Then faster. Daniel dropped his cane as Max crashed into him, pressing his muzzle into his chest, whimpering. Tears mixed with rain as Daniel held him, whispering over and over, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." Max wagged his tail, because Daniel had come back, and that was all that mattered. They drove away together, just like they always had. Side by side, forever. Some bonds can't be broken. Some promises, no matter how long they take, are always kept. Max's story is one of loyalty, love, and the kind of devotion that lasts a lifetime. And maybe, just maybe, it reminds us to cherish those who never give up on us. If this story touched your heart, please give this video a like. It helps more people see stories like this. And if you believe in the power of love and loyalty, hit subscribe so you never miss another heartwarming story. And tell us in the comments, has an animal ever changed your life? We'd love to hear your stories. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.